Hello, fourth graders. Welcome back to Fiesta Gardens Library. This is week 8 of library during distant learning. It's also Halloween week, and I promise you that next week we will get our fair share of Halloween stories. But today I want to finish, finally, Fourth Grade Rats by Jerry Spinelli. We are in the middle of chapter 12. There are 14 chapters in the book, so we will finish it today. And if you remember, Suds and Judy Billings were walking home together, and Judy invited Suds to come in, but Muffy the cat snuck away and went up a tree. Suds, being very brave, climbed up the tree to save Muffy, but then he couldn't get down. He was too scared. Let's see how Judy reacted to that. Come on, she was saying. Her voice sounded tiny and far away. I squeezed my eyes shut. I hugged the tree trunk. I can't, I said. You can't, she called. Why not? I tried to think of some other way to say it, but I couldn't. I'm afraid of heights. Oh, great, I heard her say. I opened my eyes. Her hands were on her hips. She wasn't smiling anymore. I'll probably outgrow it, I shouted down. Yeah, she said. Well, you'd better outgrow it in the next 2 seconds, because I want my cat back, and I want her back now. Judy, I wanted to say, it's me, Suds, the guy who risked his life with the spider for you. Something told me it wouldn't make any difference. Now the tree itself was waving. No way I was going down. I couldn't even look down. I reached out, got the cat in my hand under it. Lifted it up from the limb. I prayed it was right what I had heard about cats always landing on their feet. Always, please. I dropped it. It landed on its feet. Judy squealed, Muffy! I hugged the trunk again. I scrunched my cheek against the bark, shut my eyes. When I opened them, only the trash can was beneath the tree. I thought, she's going for somebody to get me down from here. She's going for help. A long time later, when mothers started calling their kids into dinner, I changed the thought. She's not going for somebody to help. I did a bunch of other thinking up there too. I thought about the little kids I had pushed off swings, about the Twinkies I had snatched, about the spider that probably wasn't a black widow at all, and a girl who was after something, but it wasn't me. I thought about rats and real men and number one and angels and fame and first and last and love and nature's way. And for the first time since I started fourth grade, I knew exactly who I was. A scared kid up a tree. I listened. One of those names being called in for dinner, mine. One of those mothers' voices, mine. Mom, I yelled, here, up here, help, help, help. I screamed my lungs out. Pretty soon my mother appeared, then my father, then a ladder. I came back to earth. My mother squeezed me harder than I'd squeezed the tree. Look at you, she said. She sounded mad, but I knew she wasn't. You're shaking like a leaf. What were you doing up there? I tried to answer, but only tears came out. I blubbered like a baby. I couldn't help it. I didn't care. I held on tight to my mom as we walked home. Sorry I gave you a hard time this morning, I sniveled. That's okay, she said. I was trying to be a good rat. I know. You do? She smiled. I was talking to Joey's mom. Uh-oh, she laughed. 10 minutes after we got home, the doorbell rang. It was Joey and his mother. Hi, Suds, said Mrs. Peterson. She was smiling, but Joey, he didn't look so good. She said, Joey has something to say to you, Suds. I thought, what would he want to say to me, especially in front of his mom? Joey was facing me, but his eyeballs were up in the corners of his eyes. He didn't look any more like number one than I did. Sorry, he said. Don't stop there, said his mom. Joey blinked, coughed, swallowed, cleared his throat, shifted his feet, and twitched. I'm sorry I got you into... Pushed you, said his mom. Sorry I pushed you into the rat stuff. I shouldn't have talked you into saying no to your mom. Here they are. And what aren't you doing anymore? I'm not saying no to my mom anymore. Mrs. Peterson nodded. Good. She patted Joey on the head. She smiled at me. Joey also wants you to know that he has dropped out of the rat race and has rejoined the human race. Mrs. Peterson smiled over my head. My mother was standing behind me. Guess that'll do it, Janet. I think so, my mom said. Mrs. Peterson mussed my hair. Bye-bye, Sudsy. Bye, I said. They left. I turned to my mother. What was that all about? Just what it sounded like, she said. You didn't really think Mrs. Peterson was going to let him get away with all that nonsense, did you? It looked like she was. She nodded. You're right about that. She was trying to give him some slack, let him work his way through this rat phase of his. That's why she backed off about the tattoos? That's why. Plus, she didn't want to discipline him in front of you. But when her patience ran out, that was it. Curtains for Joey the rat. He said he was sick yesterday. She laughed. It was his mother who was sick of his shenanigans. She kept him home to clean up his room and his tattoos and his act. So, she snapped her fingers. That's that. For her, maybe. She was walking away. Mom, I said, I have a confession. Chapter 13, Confession. My mother turned. Her eyebrows went up. That so? Yeah, I said. Maybe Joey did sort of push me, but the last couple of days, it was all on my own. She sat on the edge of the sofa. I see. Anything else? Confession is good for the soul, you know. Well, there was another person in it, sort of. I see. She crossed her legs, folded her arms. A girl. She nodded. She thought. Would her initial be JB by any chance? I was shocked. How did you know? Suds, you've been in love with Judy Billings since first grade. How did she know that? Well, I said, something happened with her, and I guess I went a little crazy. I see. Well, anyway, I think I'm through with her. My mom nodded. I imagine she'll survive. She sat back in the sofa. She just smiled at me for a while. Mom? Yes? There's more. Is there? Yeah. You know, when I was a rat there, before you went up the tree? Yeah. Well, I mean, I was really a rat. You wouldn't believe it. No? I took stuff from little kids. I pushed them off swings. I got a detention at school because I wouldn't stop laughing. I rang doorbells. A regular hoodlum. Yeah, and Mom? Yes? It was me that took all the Klondike bars. Her eyebrows shot up. Everyone? Yeah, totally. She shook her head. She was dumbfounded. I'm afraid to ask if there's anything else. Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, there was something else. Something still stuck inside me. What was it? I didn't know. Can't think of anything else, I told her. She reached out and took my hand and squeezed it. Well, rat or no rat, your mom still loves you. There. Mom, I know now. Something else. When I was being a rat, I thought I was having a great time, but I wasn't. I was having a rotten time. I thought of the faces of the little kids that I had pushed around. It's like other kids thought I was a big deal or something. But I didn't like myself, Mom. My lip was quivering. It's no fun being a rat. My mom's face was blurry as she came toward me and pulled me to her. We stayed like that for a long time. I heard her sniffling. After a while, she said, Remember when you said being a rat was the first step to becoming a man? Yeah, well, I was just thinking, it's kind of funny. As soon as you stopped trying to be a man, you became one. In a nice little way, I might add. How's that? Your confession there, taking blame on yourself, admitting you were wrong. That's grown-up stuff. Really? She hugged me. Really? Well, I said, from now on, I'm just going to be a kid. That's enough. She laughed. That's plenty. Suddenly, I remembered Winky. I bolted out the back door. I searched the yard. Nothing. I tore the lids off the trash cans. Nothing. Gone. No! My mother's voice came from the doorway. We thought you might change your mind. I stared at her finger, which was pointing up the stairs. I dashed past her up the steps into my room. There he was, my one-eyed teddy bear, sitting on my pillow. Chapter 14, Me and Dad. I guess I should mention one other thing to wrap up the story. It was a couple of days later, a Saturday, my dad's day off. I came back from playing outside and saw him in front of the VCR. I asked what he was watching. E.T., he said, only he didn't say it regular. His voice sounded funny. E.T.? I came into the room. I looked at the screen. E.T. was on the table, all white. I looked at my father, at his face. His eyes were glassy. His cheeks were wet. He was crying. Dad, I said. He pulled out a hanky and blew his nose. He chuckled. Every time that little guy dies, he sniffed. I want to bawl like a baby. I climbed onto his lap. I hadn't done that for a long time. I nestled into him. Don't sweat it, Dad, I told him. I do too. The end. That was Fourth Grade Rats by Jerry Spinelli. And I have to say, I'm very proud of Suds, how at the end, he apologized for being mean, because being a grown-up or being a man, like Joey used to say, doesn't mean you have to be not nice. You can still be nice to younger students and not push them off the swings and not steal their Twinkies. And you can still be empathetic, and it's okay to still cry at E.T. Fourth Grade Rats by Jerry Spinelli. I hope you enjoyed, and next week I look forward to reading you Halloween stories. Have a wonderful Halloween weekend.